I want to welcome all of you to the webinar that's being run by the Masters of Applied Positive Psychology alumni. I'm Lisle Baker, and we're just delighted to have you participate in this event. We're trying to provide useful advice to people as part of the alumni network. And I want to start off by welcoming, as part of the panel to help me with this, Anthony Colasano, who's given me a lot of great advice, and I hope will help all of those of you who are watching this webinar do the same. So let me share a screen with you of the slideshow. And so Tony is a certified licensed athletic trainer and certified strength and conditioning specialist. I want to make sure that I have got the right slide here. Hang on. And I want to make sure that the screen is shared. There we go. Okay. All right. So this is an important program being conducted by the Masters of Positive Psychology alumni, and there are other series in this program that I urge you to see. They're called Strategies to Thrive, and I've got the website up for you. And also there are YouTube videos of those that are already done. And the genesis of this is that law professors like me spend lots of time sitting at a desk, and even more so now, obviously. And I worked with Tony Colasano, who's a fitness professional, to help me get in physical activity into my day without a gym or special equipment. And the result is an article we published in the American Bar Association called Becoming More Physically Active in a Busy Professional Life. And there's a link to it, and I can share that with you later. And I'm no expert, but what I can explain is what I've been taught, and invite you to try it with me, and perhaps it will be helpful. And Tony is here also to help explain what we have done. So this is the article in Law Practice Today, and it has some hot links in it that are useful, and you can go to those later if you'd like. I want to explain that because exercise is hard to do on Zoom, basically, if I did any exercise, all I'd be showing you is my midsection, which I'm not sure is the best side. But I'm going to be moving back and forth between some video and this slide deck. So just be patient with that process. And I also want to say that anything I've done is you're welcome to, and I just hope that you give attribution to Mr. Colasano, because he's been generous with his time, and I want to thank him again. And we're going to try and do all this in 30 minutes. And so you will have access to the article on the website that has all the footnotes that go into the science behind this. But we're also going to give you access in that website to the video you will see shortly. A little of my background: I got my degree from the University of Pennsylvania in 2016, went to Harvard Law School in 1968. I've been teaching for 46 years and also serve on the Newton City Council. And it's just a great privilege to have been a part of this program and to do this work. Tony has been a fitness and sports medicine professional who began his career with the New England Patriots and now advises clients in Brookline and Cape Cod. And he's come to talk with my students and my faculty colleagues at Suffolk about fitness. So that's been a real treat. So our plan is to explain some relevance of this to lawyers so that you understand where we're going, and also the importance of being careful with this activity. We're going to give you a video demonstration as what is involved that Tony has taught me and my students, and then give you a chance to try it out yourself if you'd like as part of this webinar, and with a little music to make it some more fun. So John Adams once said, "Exercise invigorates and enlivens all the faculties of body and mind." And the Massachusetts Supreme Judicial Court has picked up on this issue because it said that institutions like law schools should develop content addressing self-care and personal wellness. And the National Task Force on Lawyer Well-Being has picked up on the fact that physical health, along with other important aspects of a positive life, are part of a lawyer's ethical duty of competence. So it's important to bring this into the law school environment. Now, not everybody believes in physical activity. This is Mark Twain. I take my only exercise acting as a pallbearer at the funerals of my friends who exercise regularly. Now, we don't want you to be one of those subjects of the funerals. So one of the things I need to advise you at the beginning, Beth Freites, who's a physician, has written a wonderful book called Lifestyle Medicine. And in it, she points out that if you have not done any activity recently, it's very important to get physical activity advice from your physician, because going directly from a sedentary lifestyle to vigorous exercise can be dangerous, and we don't want anybody to get hurt. However, it does have benefits once you've got past that hurdle. So some of the key principles that we're going to try and follow: know why you're doing something, not just how you're doing it. Tony has been vigorous about asserting this all along. Start slowly and build slowly over time, just like Ravel's Bolero. Most of you know this music, and there's a clip to it if you'd like to go to that. And we want to try and make it fun so you'll enjoy doing it. So let me show you what Tony showed me at an office we set up at Suffolk Law School last October. And I'm going to ask you to please excuse the fact I'm wearing a suit, but I wanted to show exercise can be done anywhere and in any outfit. So let me see if I can make the transition and go to the okay, and so this is Tony. Can you all see that? Is that?
Yeah.
Okay. Hello, I'm Lisle Baker. I'm a professor at Suffolk University Law School in Boston, Massachusetts. And I'm here with my good friend and trainer, Tony Colasano, who is going to talk with me about some of the things that he's helped me do, but we hope might also be helpful to you as an active professional who's working very hard, but may not have as much time for physical activity in your day. So Tony, let's start with just the basics of how I sit, all right?
Have a seat at your desk and do what you normally would do on a daily basis.
All right.
And let's take a look at how your body's positioned and how you move. So a couple of things I see. So first of all, your head's a little forward. And sometimes when your head is forward like that, there's stress and strain on the back of your neck. That's the first thing I see. So to help that, you can raise that computer up 5 or 6 inches or so, maybe a little more, just eye level, so you're looking straight ahead and not down. The second thing, you're slouched a little bit in the chair, you want to make sure that you sit all the way back and lift your shoulders nice and tall. Because if you're slouching on it, your shoulders fall forward, and that puts stress and strain on the spine. Okay. Now, how long do you sit there for?
Oh, half an hour. If I'm really working hard, 40 minutes.
Okay. So sometimes if you're sitting in one position for long periods of time, your hip can get really tight. So I'm gonna have you stand up for a second for me.
Okay.
One of the things you can do for that is put your knee on the chair.
Okay.
So if you do that, and you just stand nice and tall, and you squeeze your bum behind you, and that sometimes will loosen up that hip flexor. That when you're in that flexed seated position for long periods of time, it gets really short. It's a good exercise to help loosen that up. So another thing, when you're sitting for long periods of time, your posture will struggle. So one of the things we like to do is when you do stand up, have you use the wall to check your posture.
Okay.
And so when you're standing against the wall, you want 3 points of contact: the back of your head, your shoulder blades, and your bum. So as you stand there, the back of your head, your shoulders, and your bum. And then from there, you put your arms like it's a stick up, and you just raise your arms up and down. That gets all the posterior muscles in your back to work against everything that's falling forward when you're slouched in a chair. Good job. Okay. You see you get up from there a second? Good. So when you get up, you're using your hands to help you get up. You want to make sure that you use your legs to do that and not just your hands. So one of the things you can do for that is sit back down.
All right.
Don't use your hands when you sit. Got the chair behind you as far as you can, and then fall into the chair. Stand up again. You can use your hands to help you get up. Good. Do the same thing again. Sit back down into the chair as far as you can. Good. Now, if you do that on a regular basis, you're strengthening the muscles in your thighs enough to get you in and out of the chair, which is really important because squatting, or this movement pattern, is a life skill that you need to have. One of the workouts that I like to recommend is to train your body in 3 planes. Okay, warm your body up in 3 planes. So we're going to start just marching in place. Okay. When you march in place, think about your posture. Keep your belly nice and tight. Okay. Good. That's the first one. That's linear. Right. The second movement we're going to do is lateral, where you step side to side. Good. That's the second plane. And then the third plane is rotation. You're going to twist in place. Excellent. And that just kind of gets you ready to do some exercises. So after you warm up, you want to do some stretches. So one of the stretches that we have you do is called monster step. With a monster step, you're going to take your hip and move through as big a range of motion as you possibly can. Do the same thing on both sides, forwards and backwards. Good. The hip is a ball and socket joint, and you want to make sure you move it through as big a range as you possibly can. Sitting frequently, you tend to lose the ability to do that. Okay. So we did strength with the sitting in and out of the chair. We did flexibility with that. So another thing you think about is your cardiovascular system. And so one of the things you can do without going out for a run is in place, we have an exercise called gladiator. So good athletic stance, you're going to have your hands in front of you. You're going to pretend your body's cut in half. The top part's going to rotate, the lower body you're going to keep stable. So what I want you to do is turn slightly, not a big turn, like that, nice and slow. Yep. And when I tell you to, you're going to try to keep the bottom frozen. When I tell you to, you're going to go as fast as you can. Ready? And go. Push yourself as hard as you can. Keep going. Good work. Keep going, and rest. Okay? That's just one way without getting on a treadmill or a bike to get your heart rate up.
Okay. So we're going to pause for a second and let me come back and to the slide deck and whoops, hang on, sorry. Brittany, is this shared yet?
No.
Okay, let me back up. Bear with the technical problem here. Okay. Hang on.
Okay, you're all set.
All right, thank you.
From current slide.
Yep. All right, let me carry you past this. So Tony, talk to us a little bit about the importance of sitting in a proper posture. So for example, I'm doing this, I've got my computer monitor moved up to more eye level. Tony, you want to talk a minute about how the human body functions? This is a slide of the skeleton, and you may want to explain what you meant by stability and mobility.
Sure. So it's really interesting. One of the approaches that a lot of fitness professionals are taking now is this joint by joint approach, where you see on this skeleton that every other joint in the body alternates from a stable joint to a mobile joint. And so what ends up happening is if you impair what the joint is supposed to do, so if you take a stable or a mobile joint and you immobilize it, like if you take your hip socket and you keep it still and don't move it like sitting, then the joint above and below it, the joint above it is your low back, the joint below it is your knee. So the motion that you're supposed to have in the hip is going to be made up for in the joint above and below it. And then you're asking joints that aren't supposed to be mobile to do what they're not supposed to do, and you end up having problems. And then your posture goes bad and you have pain and dysfunction and all kinds of bad things happen. So it's really interesting that, you know, one of the goals with exercise is to try to maintain mobility in the joints that are supposed to be mobile and stability in the joints that are supposed to be stable. And when you do that, you can really help yourself feel good and function properly for long periods of time.
Well, thank you. Now, in the video, you showed us the athletic posture, which is basically the 3 points of contact against the wall. And you made a point to me that these are the same, you hold the same posture, the same, you know, sort of straight line, even if you're bent over to rake leaves or play tennis or play golf, or if you're in a classroom or in a law office building or doing anything like that. You want to say a word about the 3 planes of movement for a moment?
Sure. Well, first of all, that just to go back to the 3 points there, the 3 points of contact, when you stand against the wall, it's a good little check to keep your spine nice and straight. Your spine is supposed to be that way, and that's not opinion. If you look at human anatomy, that's when you're standing straight up and down, the joints and the muscles, the way that they're aligned, your body's going to move optimally that way. And so whether you're a quarterback bending over to pull a ball out from under the person in front of them, or you're pulling a turkey out of an oven. It's the same exact, your body's going to move exactly the same way. And so that's what the point there is, that you don't want to change the way that the body's supposed to function.
Yeah.
But the 3 planes of movement, the linear, lateral, and rotation, those are the only ways that the body moves. And sometimes they move in conjunction with each other. Sometimes you move linear, forwards, backwards, while you're moving a little bit laterally. But if you want to make sure that you always prepare your body to move in those 3 planes. Most of the traditional ways of exercise in a gym, a treadmill, a bike, an elliptical, they're all primarily linear. And so, but in real world, you're moving side to side and you're rotating way more than you do only linear. And so it's important to train your body that way.
Okay. And you took us through the squats, the monster step, the wall drill again, the gladiator, these 4 simple movements. You want to say a word about intensity?
Sure. Intensity is the key to training. If what you do is too easy, if it's too light, you're never going to create change. And if it's too hard, you're going to get hurt. And so if the effort that you're putting in is appropriate, you're going to get results. If it's inappropriate, you're either going to hurt yourself or not much is going to happen. Any movement is better than nothing at all, but if you want to get results, then it's got to be hard, it's got to be challenging, but you also have to be smart about it. And I created this intensity scale of 1 to 10, where you kind of want to strive to be somewhere between 6 and 8 on a scale of 1 to 10. Above an 8, you're at risk. If you push yourself too hard, you're going to hurt yourself. And if it's less than 6, and you can see the different faces I have, I put the emojis to kind of reflect those levels of intensity. But if it's easy, it's not going to be challenging, and you're not going to create change in your body. And if it's change that you're looking for, change in shape, change in strength, change in flexibility, change in body fat, it's what you do has to be more than what you typically tolerate in order for that change to happen.
Okay, so Tony, these are your 3 laws of motion. Do no harm, do some good, too easy, no results, too hard, you don't want to hurt yourself, and exercise in 3 planes of motion, linear, lateral, and rotation, and in 4 dimensions, cardio, flexibility, strength, and athleticism. You want to just say what those 4 are again, just so our
Sure.
people will follow that?
In my opinion, fitness, I'd break fitness into 4 components: cardio, flexibility, strength, and athleticism. And a lot of people focus only on one, or if they do put an effort in, a lot of times they'll just walk, or they'll just run, or they'll just use a bike. That's just cardio. They still need to address flexibility, range of motion. They need to address strength, which is resistance. And they need to address athleticism, which is balance, coordination, posture, power. So you want to make sure that all 4 of those components are reflected in your efforts to be fit and healthy. And when you do that, you really give yourself a chance to be successful.
Okay. So you want to say a word about, you talked to me in the exercise about putting my knee on the chair. Can you explain why that's important and why this matters?
Sure. A lot of people don't understand that the hip flexor is a muscle that when you sit and you flex at your hip, the hip flexor, you can see in the image with the 4 yellow arrows, the hip flexor goes from below the hip up through the pelvis into the low back. It attaches at your low back there. And so when you sit, that shortens. And so when you stand up, if it goes from being short, it's going to pull on your low back, which is why a lot of times if you sit in a chair for long periods of time, or you sit in a car and you go to stand up, your back feels stiff and stuff. And you can see in that picture that the hip flexor is the reason why a lot of times that can happen. When the hip flexor is tight like that, the opposing muscle group, which is the glutes, which you can see in the other image, the glutes, when the hip flexor is tight, that impairs the glutes' ability to fire. So your glutes, which are responsible for propelling you and extending your hip, walking, climbing stairs, that muscle's not going to work if the hip flexor is really tight. So it's really important that that hip flexor, that hip stretch where you put your knee up on the chair and address the hip flexor muscle, loosen that up so that the glute can do what it's supposed to do. And again, you can restore proper function.
Well, this is especially important for lawyers. So let's go back and we'll take and give you all a chance to go along with this for a minute. And let me see if I make this work. So I need to stop share and then go to the video and go back to where we were. And now, if you want to put all this together, is there something you recommend?
One of the things that I found to really help keep you on track and keep your workouts organized is to use audio to guide you through it. So I'll get you started with that. You're going to do 20 seconds of work and 10 seconds of rest, okay, of each exercise. The first one we're going to do, you're going to sidestep in place. The audio is going to guide you through it, okay? So get yourself ready.
So anybody who wants to do this at home without, none of us will see you, you're welcome to try.
One, go. So you're just going to go side to side for 20 straight seconds. Very good. Think about your posture. Very good. And be loose and relaxed with it, right? That's good. Halfway. Good. 10 seconds to go. Nice work. You're not taking up much space, right? Yeah. That's good. Stop. Good. Now the second one is going to be that monster step exercise where you move your hip as big as you can. Okay. Okay. Same thing. Think about your posture. Right? You're resting for 10 seconds. You're going to go right into it. One round down. Go. Good. And just try to move that hip as big as you possibly can. That's it. Good. Working backwards. Try to balance it out. Good. Halfway. Very good. Just trying to move that hip socket as big as you can in both directions. Very good. Stop. Excellent. Good. The next one's going to be a squat. So again, you're trying to sit and stand and use your legs. Okay. As much as you can, use as little as your hands. Use your hands if you need them, but 2 rounds down. Go. There we go. Excellent. Good posture. You want to feel it in your thighs, not in your knees. Your feet stay nice and solid on the ground. Halfway. Good. Reach a little more forward. Keep your hands when you go down. There you go. Stand nice and tall.
That's some good form right there.
Stop. Great job. And the last one's going to be gladiator. Your athletic stance. Slow for the first 10 seconds, fast for the last. Try to keep your lower body nice and frozen. Good athletic posture. 3 rounds down. Slow. Go. Rotate. Good. When it says halfway, you're going to push as hard as you can. You ready for that? Yeah. Good. Looks great. Halfway. Go. Now push yourself. Push yourself. Good work. Good. Good. Nice job. Keep pushing. Great. Nice work. Good. Stop. Excellent job. Very good. So just those 4 movement patterns, 20 seconds each, 10 seconds of rest after each. We finished your workout. That was a little bit of all the different components. And now we're going to do a stretch to reset your body. Okay. Good athletic position. Reach forward with your hands. Push hard and back. Clasp your hands together. Hinge at your hip and lean forward. Reach down and touch your toes. Come up slowly, little by little. Raise your arms up to the sky. Push hard and away. And your body's reset. Nice job.
Thank you.
Good work.
Tony, tell me why we did this in an interval.
A lot of studies show that the interval training is a very efficient way to train, and you get more done in less time, and there's not a risk of overuse injuries. So you can get in that routine that you did was 20 seconds of work, 10 seconds of rest times 4. That's only 2 minutes. As you do it a little bit more, you can string them together and do 4 minutes and 6 minutes, and how does that relate to billable hours and for lawyers?
Yeah, well, it gives you an efficient use of time, which we're all about. This is all about being more effective as a lawyer, and in my case, I hope as a law teacher, but we also want our students and our clients to be healthy. The point of this is that physical activity matters. It helps not only with your physical body and your emotional sense, but also your mental acuity. And I hope that the program that we've taken you through maybe have helped you just as it's been helpful to me. Tony, any last words?
Well, the human body's not designed to sit. If it was, it would be fixed at 90 degrees. And so it's designed to move. So, I know sometimes you do have to sit to get some stuff done, but if you just try to keep the body moving on a regular basis and be creative and make it interesting with different exercises and settings and different music to make it fun and motivating for yourself, it can make a world of difference in your health and fitness.
Well, thank you all very much for watching. I'm Lisle Baker again, and this is Tony Colasano, and I want to thank Tony for coming and helping me understand the basic principles of fitness in an office setting. I just want to mention that you be careful to do this under the supervision of your physician and with some advice of a trainer of your own, because each of us is different. In any event, I hope that it's useful to you, and it was certainly useful to me. Thank you very much, Tony, for taking the time.
My pleasure. Nice job.
So thank you. And let me see if I can share the screen again of the PowerPoint. And so the Mozart interval that, the Mozart that you heard, the 10 seconds on and 20 seconds on, 20 seconds on and 10 seconds off, is available on the website that I showed you for Suffolk. And it's really, Tony has been very gracious. We try to use things in the public domain so we don't run into a copyright problem. If you're grateful for what you've learned, I hope that you will take a moment to help those who may be in need, who can attend these kind of programs. To paraphrase someone that said, you can do more good with a kind word and a check than you can with a kind word alone. So just think about that opportunity. So just to thank you for your attention, I really want to acknowledge Tony's help. Brittany McCartney, who is on the call with us as a co-host, as well as Sarah Hillstrom, who helped with the work on the slides for this, and then, of course, Media Services at Suffolk University Law School. What I'd like to do is to now have a chance for people to ask some questions, because we want to get you out of here in half an hour, but there may be some questions people have. So anyone got questions that we can answer? You can send them through the chat or through the question and answer section. Tony, anything you want to add to panelists?
I'm just glad I can remember all this stuff after being quarantined for a month.
All right. Well, that's great. Well, we're glad to have you back. I want to thank all of you who've been willing to attend. I hope the technical stuff worked. We may have had a frozen screen, I hope not, but the video that I showed you, or at least attempted to show you, is all on the website that is at Suffolk that I indicated at the outset. Anyone would like to send me an email, and I'll be glad to forward a question to Tony, or you can ask it of me, and I will certainly send you any of the materials we have. Any questions from the
click the Q&A on the bottom.
Okay, thank you, Brittany. Okay, just all people saying thanks, and we're very grateful to all of you for attending. This is a grand experiment, as you can see, in trying to do something that's not been done much before. So
Martin raised his hand.
Oh yes, Marty, yes.
I allowed him to talk.
Okay.
Can I unmute now?
Yeah.
Am I
yeah.
unmuted?
Yeah.
Hi, Lyle. It's good.
Hey, nice to
it's good
see you.
Thank you. I was just going to comment that from a medical standpoint, exercising and staying fit will add years to your life. There are multiple studies that show if you listen, for the audience, if you listen to what has been stated on the call today, you'll probably get an extra year to 2 years added to your life. So it's worthwhile on many levels, not only the quality of life, but adding additional years. So thanks a lot.
Thank you, Marty. Marty's a classmate from college. He was gracious enough to come in an expert also on public health. So he knows whereof he speaks. Any other questions? If not, I want to thank you all for attending. I think, Tony, thank you so much. All of this wouldn't have happened without you. And Brittany, thank you so much for your patience and for all of you who've attended.
Sally has her hand up.
Say again?
Sally has her hand up.
Oh, Sally has her hand up. Yes. Can you unmute her?
That was a mistake.
Oh. All right. Okay. I think we're done, folks. Thank you all, and have a good week, and please stay healthy.